What's up, Legion? It is Steve Zapf once again this week, and with me as always is my boy Hound. This is I Still Call It a Lariat, a pro wrestling podcast, and today we will be reviewing NXT Deadline. Hound, as always, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. Happy to be here. Let's talk about this little PLE shindig, shall we?
This PLE that they did, this premium live event, if you will. Some friends became enemies, some enemies became friends.
I will say this before we begin anything else. It certainly was an NXT PLE.
That's what it was. Legion, as always, if you agree with our takes on this, if you don't agree with our takes on this, please comment, like, subscribe, follow, tell your friends about it. If you have friends who are into wrestling and you like our podcast, send them our way. If you have friends who don't like wrestling, send them our way anyway. If you have people and you're not into wrestling that you don't like, send them our way. Oh, man. I will say this. They were at I believe it's called the Armory in Minneapolis for this.
Yeah.
This was a really cool looking building, and NXT is becoming very good at finding these different looking buildings for their PLEs, for their bigger traveling shows. They did the one in St. Louis that was really cool. The 2300 arena, obviously.
Yeah, it reminds me of, and this is going back in the day, NXT is embracing the fact that they're not going to go fill MetLife Stadium. They're not going to go fill wherever the hell the Cowboys play. But if it's no longer in existence, but you think back to the old territory days, NXT is in like the Sportatorium.
They're in the Sportatorium, yeah.
They found their niche there, and I'm hoping they continue to find these cool little offshoots like that where you can fit between between 5 and 10K folks in there, and I would
assume, yeah. I mean, yeah, they're probably sitting in that 3 to 5 range for some of this stuff, or like 3 to 7 range realistically. And it looks good. And you used this term a few weeks ago in one of our episodes, and I really believe this. This is what pro indie should look like.
Yeah.
Like you said, this is territory looking. It looks like you said, the Sportatorium, or the if you look at old like championship wrestling from Florida when they would be at the different armories and stuff like that. That's what this looks like. I know it's called the Armory, but like this is really what this looks like, is that old style of Dusty wrestling and old style of Mike Graham wrestling and things like that, where like you would get some of this stuff, and it's a cool different look. I like it. I'm glad that we get to see a different, like, they're not just trying to fill a building because that's where wrestling is supposed to be in,
Yeah, and like you being from Jersey as well, I can point to 2 things like up by us, and I can name them, and this is just for us talking, and folks out in the Legion, if you want to kind of Google these places and you'll get what we're talking about. The Wildwood Convention Center is another one where like it would be perfect, and the Rataco Center over in Toms River.
Yeah. So, is it still the Rataco Center? I don't even know what it's called anymore, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so.
Wasn't it like the Powerade Center for a little bit or something like that?
Dude, who knows, man? At this point, it might be,
it's all a front. They're fronting, as you say.
Yeah, Jersey's not corrupt.
All right, so the show opens with the Men's Iron Survivor Challenge, which one of the things that they stated during the pre-show and going into this match is apparently there has been an attack on Eddie Thorpe. Police were not involved. That's upsetting. I think authorities should be alerted. But Eddie Thorpe is out of this match, and Ava, in her grand wisdom, is going to give us a surprise entrance at the end. So all around, I didn't mind this match. We get the match is Wesley, Ethan Page, Nathan Frazier, Javon Evans and the surprise entry, which I will save the surprise until the end of us talking about it. We start off with Wesley and Javon Evans. Hound, you had texted me how impressed you were with Javon Evans during this match.
Yeah, so I thought Javon Evans was on fire throughout the duration of this. And on fire, like in the desperate babyface way, like, and it all ties back to the pep talk X-Pac gave him, and it was great storytelling. And while that was happening, and I think I said it to you this way, I believe what Javon Evans is going to end up like is he's going to be beloved by the NXT universe, like to the point where like Sami Zayn was back in the day, where I could see Evans coming up short for a long time. And eventually when it happens, being like, you know, locker room emptying, people crying, yada, 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 this whole thing. And I think Javon Evans has found something special. I mean, freak athlete. The first drop kick he threw, I think he was so excited he damn near jumped over Wesley. Because if you look, he jumped up and then he had to kick down. I was just like, because he was 92 feet in the air.
Yeah, he was in the rafters.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. I was like, okay, slow down, gents. I know you're incredible, but like, it's okay. You're okay.
That's literally what I thought about when I first started watching this match too. Is these two guys are very good. I knew Wesley was very good, but like these two guys have good chemistry too.
Yeah,
they work very well together. Next person that enters is Nathan Frazier. Nathan Frazier does cool stuff. He does cool moves. This is what I'm going to say. Nathan Frazier does cool moves. Nathan Frazier does not move me.
Oh, I know what you're saying, and I see it, and I understand the frustration because we have seen him before. And you know what? Honestly, and this is maybe nobody has said this like this, and I didn't even think of it until now. You want to know what I think part of it is too, because I get I get it. He looks like Kid Cash.
He does kind of look like Kid Cash.
And it's like we've seen it before. We've seen Evan Bourne. We've seen all of the other dudes who did Lucha Underground. We've seen Kid Cash. So yeah, while he's good, but he is version 7.8 of this good wrestler.
Well, and here's the other thing is all these cool moves that he's doing, they all loop together.
Yeah.
And there's almost no time to like soak it in sometimes.
He hasn't learned how to let a moment breathe. Like Randy Orton, one of my favorite things about him is like, you know, the Orton stomp where it's each ankle, each hand in the head, is the beat and the beat and a half he takes between and everything else. Cause it's super methodical. Even when he's trading punches, and you'll see when it's going to go back and forth, he'll slow the other guy down to get to Randy Orton's pace of punches. And I think that's the thing is Nathan Frazier is trying to do everything all at once, and you can't be everything to everyone. And I think that's his biggest deal is he's trying to have everybody impressed. And that's the thing, you don't need to impress everybody. You just need to go out there and do everything that you can, and what you're doing is impressive enough. So he's just not connecting with people is really all it is.
I think that's really what it is. Like you said, he's not moving. He's doing cool moves, but he's not moving me.
Yeah.
Like you need, I need emotion from it. I need a little bit more emotion. He's very athletic. He does cool stuff. I think if they could figure out what it is that is not working here, it would be great for him. The next person that we get coming in is Ethan Page. He immediately gets a pin on Nathan Frazier. And the last guy to come in,
Invert that.
What's that?
Invert that. He comes in and immediately gets pinned by Nathan Frazier.
I thought he pinned Nathan Frazier because I thought Frazier got the last.
No, it was like immediate, where it was hilarious. Like it couldn't have happened to anybody but Ethan Page. It was hilarious. It was a great spot.
And then Javon Evans got the first pin from Wes Lee just as Frazier was coming out. And we eventually get our surprise entrance, Obafemi M'Baku.
So the writing was on the wall for say his name and he appears.
I really thought it was going to be Joe Hendry.
When you texted me, because I did not get to watch the pre-show, I was busy being a dad and doing dad things. I was like, oh crap, cool. Well, at least I'll get to see a Joe Hendry pop tonight. That'll be fun. But yeah, I did not expect Obafemi to come out. And Obafemi he's getting good, man.
He is a specimen.
He's getting good.
So to piggyback off of what you said a little bit before about Javon Evans, though, the end of this match with Javon Evans and Oba, what I have written here is Javon Evans understands the assignment. He does an exchange with Obafemi where he's just outspeeding him the whole time. And, like, you can see this is all he's like, I need to outspeed him because I can't do anything else. Oba might technically be, for the size he is, even more athletic than Javon Evans is. And he knows, like, I've got speed on him. This is what I got. And he's ducking punches and he's hitting quick and he's hitting like Superman punches. But he's still trying to stay out of the reach of him. And it was a really good exchange. And Obafemi being in the box at the same time as Ethan Page is epic.
Yes, and I want to piggyback back to the Javon Evans and Obafemi thing. The thing that made that hit so much harder and look so much more effective is because of the European uppercut he hit Javon Evans with before all of that, because I thought he killed him. It was one of, and those two made that spot look so good, but that looked so vicious. It was so good. I enjoyed this match. I thought, of course, you get all this crazy stuff that's going on in it. The 5 people in there's going to be the Jamokin. Even down to the final, the way that the match ends, every bit of it, not just because of the impressive nature, and I don't want to bury and just say, oh, here's what happened yet. We're hitting that point. But even the final visual, because the final visual wasn't the final pin. The final visual was something else, and even then, it was perfect, I thought.
I really liked how they did this. I like this concept, actually. This is a really cool concept, and I hadn't really watched much of it. I will say this, because it's 25 minutes. I would almost, I'm just going to say, maybe it's because Oba was the last guy and he got a real entrance. I halfway kind of wish that this got pushed to 30 minutes. I like the 25. So here's the thing with the women's match, because they were all in the pod already. I kind of, or whatever it was, like most of them didn't get the real entrance or whatever it was. Oba got like a full entrance, and it kind of, and it extended it a little bit. So this is, and which I like the 25 and I don't like the 25. It's very weird. I could see it being a 30-minute match and still being just as good.
The only way they can make it a 30-minute match is you now have to extend it to 6 people. And I think you're getting to be just too many there.
I think 5 is perfect.
And the whole reason why I don't think they should extend that time is because, let's just say in a vacuum, you've got somebody who's out there and you're going to be the last person going out. So from the moment your music starts until the final bell rings, you have 10 minutes to accomplish. And what if you've got somebody out there who, in the time before you got there, they've got 8 falls already? How the hell are you going to pick up 8 falls in 10 minutes? I like that just because it does put the, it almost puts everything into desperation mode immediately and makes you want to believe that, okay, for 10 minutes, I can throw caution to the wind.
I can see that. All right. I retract my statement then. I like the 25 minutes. Hound has turned me around. See that? I change my mind sometimes, Legion. Sometimes. The victory of this comes from Obafemi. He's actually down. He's only got one win, and it's that European uppercut that he hit on Javon Evans, which again we thought he was dead. And he choke slams and hits a double pin on two of the guys,
Frazier and Lee,
Frazier and Lee, and double pins them. And man, first of all, that looked cool. Secondly, the double pin looked cool. Thirdly, I'm coming along on Obafemi as well.
So that right there, it cemented what it needed to cement there. While everything else was going on, and while folks were chipping away at the giant and chipping away at, the colossus of this match, ultimately it hit a point where he was just like, enough, and kind of put the kids down. But then the final thing leading in, and it was one of those, the breaking the hearts of the fans, because it looked like Javon Evans was going to tie it. And for him to, I don't remember, no, he was crawling over for the pin and would have gotten it to tie it up at a third fall. But it's, as he got his arm to the guy, the 25-minute buzzer went off. And just Javon Evans' look on his face, that's where I said everything about that was perfect. And you could feel the crowd, because the crowd was so, if you were there, you wouldn't have been able to do anything except root for Javon Evans. I mean, hell, the Swanton all coming out of the damn penalty box, every little bit of all those things he did. Like, Javon Evans is something special, man.
He's absolutely something special. So I'm going to throw this question to you. Did Obafemi attack Eddie Thorpe?
I don't think it's going to be that simple.
I'm only asking because he does have that history,
And it may very well be. It might be. I hope this isn't something where it's dragged out over the course of 6 weeks over grainy footage and everything else, and like, oh, who did this? Like, if Obafemi did do it, next NXT on Wednesday, just come out and say you did it. Makes you even more menacing right then, yeah. Where it's just like, oh crap, this guy he's out for blood right now.
Yeah, like I did it because I wanted this.
Yeah, I did it. Do something about it.
Yeah, kind of come change my mind. Oh wait until after I win the title, because I think he is going to win the title.
Yes. Yes, so do I.
We get a real quick Lexis King vignette on this. I love how serious it is. I love what he's doing here, but it was very quick. But it was very well done, and I like that they touched on that this was kind of where the turning point of Lexis King's life was. The next match after the vignette is the underground match between Lola Vice and Jada Parker. This is another one where this match is the concept of this match is interesting. I don't know if it's always completely functional though, and Hound, I might be using the wrong thought process on this, but it almost feels like the match itself needs to be fully choreographed. Like it needs to be a fight scene.
It really does, because you don't have something where you can hide a spot call. You don't have something where you and I, and you know as well as I do, wrestlers, you develop your own shorthand speak, where you may call, if you're leading the match, you might call the next 4 spots by saying 3 words to me.
Yep. Hippity dippity.
Yeah, it could vary, and I know precisely what's happening. It's me going right after Takeshita, but
yes.
You're never safe. But yeah, and it would need to be treated like a movie scene. I got to be honest, man, and this is the thing. I like both these ladies. I thought this entire thing was a miss. I really did.
I agree with you. So here's the thing: is I appreciate that this match is something different, and that you are trying something different, it's just not my style. And again, if it's your style, I'm not bashing. This is one of those times I'm not bashing what other people like, and rarely do we. But at the same time, this is not what I get into a lot of times. I will say this: there were some cool spots in the match. Jada ducking the spinning back fist, and Lola smashing her hand on the shark cage, basically. That was kind of cool. The spot where Jada wraps Lola's belt around her wrist, though, and like starts pulling her into the turnbuckle post. That looked a little touch and go dangerous, because that was going against the way your shoulder's supposed to go. So I'm like, I was watching it going, be careful, because I get what you're trying to do, but you could have really torn a shoulder on that one.
Yeah, and if we're going to dig into it a little bit, of course, there were definitely some cool moments. Now, ultimately, the right finish happened, and I don't believe it made Jada Parker look weak.
No.
Because if you were to have Jada Parker KO or submit Lola Vice, the known what is she's a Taekwondo world champ? Is she a world champ?
She's an actual MMA fighter. She's
that too. Oh, she's a black belt in Taekwondo. She might have been a point fighting champion too. I don't know.
I think she was, but she's like a 4-1 MMA fighter at one point in like for Bellator, I think too. Like not like a scrub promotion.
No, she's a legit badass. And if you were to kind of take that away from her right now, especially like it wouldn't work. But those two ladies have some chemistry. I think the only reason this didn't hit was the style of match there. The underground is cool, but ultimately I think the way that stuff is going to end up cool for the underground is, think back to like when Gable Steveson did his underground moment and he was tossing fools. Or you got to have something where, what is that that really cheesy MMA movie about the kids fighting in the backyard with the second one is Michael Jai White in it.
Never Back Down.
So you have to have something like where that one dude hits that weird cartwheeling kick and just KOs the dude, like set up for something crazy like that, and then you can get a moment out of it. But other than that, it's either that or it's got to be something where somebody passes out to a submission. Like if you want to send something home, I would almost have it where the majority of them people tap to strikes.
Honestly, and even the way that you're describing things, I think this is one of those times that this should be, and I get it, you paid for a pay-per-view or you paid to get into a live event, but this is one of those things that I feel like should be a cinematic match.
100%. And, kudos to them for trying it.
Which, again, this goes back to me saying I feel like this is one of those matches that should be fully choreographed.
Yeah, and for anybody out in the Legion who hasn't seen it, there's two matches that I can think of that are fully choreographed, where it's like cinematic like that, and it's the Firefly Funhouse match with John Cena and Bray Wyatt. Rest in peace, Bray. That match was incredible, and the Boneyard match with Taker and AJ, which was fantastic.
And they're both on the same Mania. They're both on the Mania with no one in the building.
That's right. Yeah. They were at COVID Mania.
So I do like both those matches, and it's funny because I always have to preface this before I say it. I like both those matches. With that said, the only reason I don't like both those matches as much is because they were on Mania. And Mania is one of those few times where I want wrestling, full on wrestling. And but if you're looking at those as just standalone cinematic matches, they're amazing. What they do is phenomenal. It's just, and I think it was a little bit of disappointment because I was supposed to be at the Mania that got canceled that year. So it's a little bit on me on this one.
Of course, but
So Lola wins this match with the Darce choke. Again, like you said, I think this is the right choice on this one. I don't think Jada Parker comes out of this looking any weaker either. Like I think, and I think this could be something like you said. This is a forever feud too.
Yeah.
Like I see this getting carried into onto the main roster.
Yeah, and it's something where you know that if let's just say those two ladies, because the way they're working together, I'd like to believe they've got some good chemistry away from everywhere else, and I wouldn't doubt if they're not bouncing ideas off each other constantly. And this is something where if things get stale for either of them, it's simple like, hey, let's pitch like a 4-match program real quick, and we know that we can go out there, we'll make money with it. People will get invested because we'll go out there and we'll do a good job again.
I could also see this turning into a Sheamus Cesaro situation as well, where they fought each other so many times and they get like, hey, we're gonna have you go after the women's tag team titles because we're tired of you guys fighting each other.
Yeah,
and they win them. Speaking of tag team titles, though, we get our NXT Tag Team title match, and that's No Quarter Catch Crew, consisting of Miles Bourne and Tavion Heights versus Fraxium, the champions. So here's the thing: Nathan Frazier getting injured in the Iron Survivor match actually works in Fraxium's favor as far as the sympathy on this match. This is the again to go along with. I wasn't feeling anything for Nathan Frazier. I finally felt a little something for him during this match. I like the fact that he takes the sympathy. I love Miles Bourne. I like No Quarter Catch Crew in general, but I love Miles Bourne. The fact that Miles Bourne is actually fully deaf is astounding. That he can do all the stuff he does, cut the promos he does, because he does cut a good promo. Is the craziest part about it is he does all the things. And I love that they play the joke with it, where like if someone says something, like and he doesn't quite see it, he just goes, "Huh? What did you say?" So he's willing to poke fun at himself, which I think is good. This is a good tag team match. This like I said, Frazier being hurt, Tavion Heights is a beast of an amateur wrestler. These guys they hit the notes on this one.
Yeah, so if you don't mind, I'm gonna kind of dive into this a little bit. So we the writing is on the wall, like for Fraxium to drop these things. Nathan Frazier comes back out with taped up ribs, and he definitely he was bleeding out his nose from the Iron Survivor match, and he came out and he had gauze stuffed up his nostrils, and I was like, I hope he doesn't actually have a broken nose right now. I was like, but my God, and if this dude's going to go for it right now, it's going to be interesting. And then on top of it, so Frazier starts and then right away like makes a tag, and then he's refusing tags, saying he's like, no, man, I'm really hurt, even though he's trying to be like, no, don't worry about it, because the biggest problem they've had is Nathan Frazier's kind of lack of self-awareness and basically him putting himself in bad situations, and Axiom having to kind of be the adult of the two and be like, no, don't touch that. That's hot.
Don't put the fork in that outlet.
Exactly. And it's like when it's basically like Axiom's the dad and Frazier is the kid who just got mobile, and anybody who's had a kid knows that once they can start moving around, they look for the nearest thing that can kill them and they beeline for it. So all day long, you're just a goalie keeping them back in the game of life. And
Perfect.
But yeah, and then so it was like the writing was on the wall, and I got to say this, and I'll let you kind of go off and talk about the finish and everything else. The writing was on the wall for the titles to drop, and with everything that played out in this match, I am so impressed with Axiom. It's unbelievable. I'm impressed with Nathan Frazier too. I'm impressed with all 4 members in that match because it was phenomenal.
Very good. Very, very good. And I like that they sorry.
No, go ahead. It was a good handoff.
I like that they did that it seemed more like Fraxium survived this match.
Yeah,
You know, like this was like hey, we won, and we kept our titles.
well, it was that, and it was also the fact there was the mistimed missile drop kick where Axiom hit Frazier, and then double team move and some crazy spinning Death Valley driver, and the fact that Axiom kicked out, and I forget what they call what is it? It's the standing Spanish fly and the dragon the Phoenix Splash. There we go.
The Phoenix Splash, yeah.
And whatever they call that, I can't. It's the name escapes me right now. And then that wasn't enough to keep them down. But for Axiom to not only and then to survive, because while that match was going on, had we had a prediction show for it, I would have been picking for Fraxium to drop that title. I'd been like, yeah, it's about time.
Yeah.
And
same.
then as the match was going on, I was like, oh my God, Fraxium's going to keep this. I was like, I don't know how they're going to do it, but they're going to do it. You start feeling that coming that way. And I'm hoping that them doing this like this, because I think it's inevitable that No Quarter Catch Crew gets their hands on those belts, and it may be at the next one. It may be in the next PLE for NXT.
I think that's New Year's Evil or whatever they call it. It's one of the it's whatever one is in the new year, because they talk about the next one after this, which is the first PLE of the new year.
Yeah, so it may very well do that, but it's, if anything, and it also showed that, because for a while I thought Fraxium wasn't connecting with the NXT audience, and it turns out they were. Because they got a pretty loud eruption for keeping that. And maybe it was the sympathy and maybe everything else. But whatever it was, it worked, man. And if that's what they needed to become a beloved tag team, to where when they do lose it or when one turns on the other, it is like a heartbreaking moment. Awesome.
That's what I'm thinking. I think the turnaround from this is going to be, if one of them turns on the other one, it's going to be heart-wrenching.
Yeah.
Or when they do finally drop these titles, it's going to be heart-wrenching, because I think I think this was the match that they finally caught it. That they finally got it. And let's give it to No Quarter Catch Crew on this one for putting up a match good enough to let them do that. Because these guys, again, this was a really good match. A really, really good tag team match.
So I want you to think back to your time as working in the business. That's one of those matches, and we've had them, where when you get in the back and you get away from everybody, it's one of those, it's like the biggest hug to the person you were just out there. And it's just, thank you for that. And
I agree.
You're exhausted, almost on the verge of tears, knowing I just gave everything I had out there. Thank you for doing that with me.
I completely agree with that. I think these are, like I said, I wouldn't mind seeing a program with these four guys. They just keep going back at it. Give us two more matches like this. Be awesome. Let's move on to the NXT Championship match, though. So it is Trick Williams, the champion, versus Ridge Holland. I like this because we saw a little bit more of a serious Trick Williams, even in the entrance. His walkout was a little bit more serious. I do have this little notch I want to throw in there, is I would have had him take it even further, though, because he was serious when he walked out, and you could see he didn't do all the normal Trick Williams stuff that he does. I would never have had him take the corner. I would never have had him do the turnbuckle pose. I would have had him walk right up to Ridge and either have them get chest to chest or have them get forehead to forehead, and have to have the ref really push them apart and be like, this match is we're not going to do this unless you guys get into the other corners for right now. But again, that's a me thing. That's I don't, I think my takeaways from this are that Ridge Holland is a beast. I think Trick Williams has a nice drop kick, but needs a little better timing on it. And I thought the crowd was super into this match.
The crowd was definitely super into the match, but I can tell you I wasn't. This match kind of was a miss for me. it was pretty obvious, especially when Obafemi won the Iron Survivor, that Trick was retaining. Because I was like 75-25 that the Trick was going to retain. But had Ridge won it, I'd been like, oh, okay, cool.
I would have been happy. I think
Yeah.
I would have liked Ridge winning it.
Yeah, me too. But here, the whole thing, man, like, it, the match was what the match was. There was, I thought the trick shot knee at the end for the ending, it looked terrible this time. The whole Trick hanging himself in the ropes thing, like, I was like, don't do that, because it's just that, because God forbid you did actually break your neck right there. It's not worth the risk. And like I said, man, I get it that Trick Williams came out and was supposed to be this more serious guy and everything else. And maybe it's just like for Frazier with you, Trick just ain't connecting for me. And I really do think it's time to get that damn title off him.
I really do. I think it is. That's why I wouldn't have been mad if Ridge had won it here. I think to go along with your trick shot knee thing, I think he needs a different finish. I don't know
Yeah.
what that other finish is, but I think he needs something different.
I think he needs to be coming off the top rope for something.
Something. I mean, maybe have him start doing a frog splash or something. I could see him hitting a good frog splash.
Yeah, just something, man. But like, and it could very well have been the angle too, but it looked like that knee didn't even connect, man. Like, it was, granted, the camera angle was not the best angle, but still, and it's just, Ilya Dragunov got the best out of Trick Williams.
Ilya Dragunov gets the best out of a lot of people, though, too.
Exactly.
So like we're holding that. That's a pretty high standard to.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say, though. But think
You
about
need
that.
someone up there to pull the best out of them.
Well, but think about that. Think about the lineage of this title right now, and we got to go from. Ilya took it from. Oh God, who did he take it from? Was it Gunther?
Ilya took it, the NXT title, he took it off Carmelo.
That's right. He took it off Carmelo. I'm thinking about the NXT UK title, but Carmelo Carmelo took it off Breaker, and so that was just match after, and every time it was elevating.
I was just saying, Breaker took it off of Ciampa, which again, huge.
So think about this, and that's the thing every time they went into their next program, even the one where they were going to successfully defend, they were constantly elevating, and the person they were there in those programs with, it was elevating as you went through. And it's gotten to Trick Williams, and Ilya Dragunov dragged two incredible matches out of him. And then we got the Ethan Page, got knocked out, takes the title, and Trick got it back. But you see where I'm getting at with this? Everything was rising, and you have plateaued here, and it's time to get that off him. Trick needs a little bit of a reinvention. He has everything, and he needs to be made extremely uncomfortable again. So that way he needs the pressure so he can be the diamond he truly is.
I agree. I think he needs a feud that doesn't involve that title.
Yeah.
Like, he needs to get the title off of him so that he can have a massive feud that doesn't involve that belt. After the match, there is a little vignette involving Ava where Tiffany interrupts and teases cashing in on the NXT title. Obviously it's just a full-on tease, but I like the idea that this could be they're going to start acting like the NXT title is something big again. And then the main event of the evening is the Women's Iron Survivor match, consisting of Julia, Zarya, Stephanie Vaquer, Ren Sinclair, and Sol Ruka. The match started with Julia and Ren Sinclair, and I went, yeah, let's see this. Because I make no hesitation about telling people how good Ren Sinclair is. But I also take no hesitation in telling people how good Julia is. and I want to see what happens when these two are just out there allowed to wrestle. And you know what? I was pretty happy with it.
So I'm of two minds with their opening thing.
Okay.
One, I like that Ren looked intimidated the whole time. Like she had to start feeling like she could belong in there. But the other part was it felt like the two of them were not connecting with each other. Not physically, like it's almost like, you have to be yoked together, like a yoke of oxen, and they got to be together and walk together. And it was like they're walking in the same direction, but they were slightly off kilter. So they were not going, it was not making the progress it should. But I don't really hold that against them, kind of thing, where I thought Ren's facial expressions and everything else being like, holy crap, that's Julia, holy crap, that's Julia, like that, it played that off well. So I do give some kudos there.
I agree. So I don't say this often, but I agree with something that Booker T said during this match. When Sol Ruka came in and she did the surfboard taunt, Booker T at one point says, like, you can't be doing stuff like that in a match like this. I think this would have been a perfect point for them to get the first fall on something where she did that, and like, because I think they have Ren hit a crossbody block on her while it's happening. And that would have been a cool way for her to lose, being like, maybe this is why you can't get out of your own. Like, we keep saying how Sol Ruka should be the future of what's going on, and we're just waiting for them to catch the lightning in the bottle with her. This could have been a good way for her to do that and be like, this is the problem here. This is why you're not doing more. Like, you took a pin right away because you wanted to do this instead of, hitting a soul snatcher and just getting the pin right away.
That, and it would have been really good character development for her too, which you and I have talked ad nauseum about this. Sol Ruka is something special. She really is. But yeah, it came across a little bit too ditzy and not taking the potential opportunity serious enough.
And I felt like that was a lot of the stuff she did in this match came off that way. And I want everyone to also understand, though, we are fans of Sol Ruka's work. Like, so that's also why if she had gotten the pin here, like you said, it would be character development. Someone could have come to her afterwards and be like, this is why we're saying you need to take things more seriously. Like, you can't just treat every day like it's like you're catching waves. You could have had a shot at the NXT Women's title. Instead, you're sitting on the couch with the rest of us.
Exactly.
I liked that this match started off a little slower than the guys' match did. It's actually one of my knocks on a lot of the women's gimmick matches. Is I always feel like they're going a little bit too fast and they're not, and they're playing the notes, but they're playing them almost out of order, I guess would be the way to say it, or their tempo isn't right. Like I always write the
metronome.
The metronome. Like, your metronome's not set right, and you're not keeping the right tempo for this for this song. I always this felt like they were moving overall at the right speed for what should have happened in this match.
Yeah, 100%. And that metronome thing, it hits home for me because, as you know, I've been playing the drums a long time. So if there's one thing I know how to do, it's keep time. And that's one thing about matches like this is when the high spots start, you can really start speeding things up, and you can make a song not sound right. When you get, especially like if myself and whoever's playing bass, we don't hold down the 1, 2, 3, 4 like that through the whole thing, it can get out of whack. And same thing in a wrestling match there, man. And the ladies, and I think a lot of that had to do with Julia being out there early on, because you have Zarya, who's brand new, you got Sol Ruka, who's still very, very new, and Ren, who's very new. and starting off where Julia kind of slowed everybody down. And that was the right move. Another thing that I loved was the fact that it was like Ren could not stop slipping on a banana peel this whole match. I loved that story. And like she just got out of the penalty box and walked into the Soul Snatcher. I loved it. And yeah, it was
I
great.
agree with you. I loved it once we got to the point where I realized what they were doing with it, because I actually wrote at first, I was like, if Ren is just here for everyone else to get the win on her, I'm gonna get annoyed by it, because she is too good to just have her there for that.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen. First off, Ren's your girl. Like
She
when
is.
it comes, so you are definitely you're going full on dad mode right there. Like, what do you mean? Like,
what do you mean she's not good enough for first string?
I get you completely, dude. Like 100%, you gush on her like she's your kid, and I completely get it.
I will say this though, my gushing is justified, because by like the third time she's in the box and she comes out, I think after the Soul Snatcher one, she comes out and you can hear the entire crowd chanting "Let's go Ren," and I was like, oh, I'm not alone on this. Okay, let's do this. And it almost, and I'm not saying this this is one of those things you would never have been able to see. It's one of those things that would have had to have been a real quick call on the fly moment. But because of the way that worked, it halfway feels like they missed this opportunity with Ren Sinclair to win it. I'm not saying Julia winning it is the wrong decision. What I'm saying is if you could know that this was going to happen, that would have been like, the call would have been like, oh, somehow she gets the Cinderella story. Like, she wasn't supposed to be in it. The crowd gets behind her. She's down. She's taken 3 falls, and all of a sudden, somehow in the last like minute, she manages to get 3 wrestling roll-ups. Would have been perfect.
Yes, I see what you're saying there, but I think the better part of what will come from this, and I right there, that's a great idea. But I think what we're going to have here, and you alluded to it, and I don't think you even realized it. I think you've got the start of a new, or a new Kofi Mania, and it starts with something like that. And that might have been the organic thing to start it. And ultimately, I'll take that over her doing that because she's not beating Roxanne.
That's fair. And I just want to also clarify, I'm not saying that Julia winning was the wrong decision. And the way I'm looking at it is hindsight is 2020. Like, we could have done this knowing that this was going to happen, but those chants started so organically that we would never have been able to make that call. Like, no one would have been able to, no promoter, no booker would ever been able to make that call.
And that's precisely why I said it has. I'm not saying it'll get to that point, but it's much like the Yes movement. It's even like the We Want Cody. It's the Kofi Mania. It's one of those things where all it takes is a little bit of groundswell, and then we've seen that now the voice of the fan is actually heard. The show is no longer written for an audience of one.
I fully agree with that. And here's the only thing that I am worried about. And this is, I feel we're more likely to go with your theory, but I'm a little nervous that Baya's getting this. Unfortunately, this is, do you remember Roman Reigns' first Royal Rumble? How hot he was in that Royal Rumble and how everyone wanted him to win that one?
Yes.
And then next year, he got booed out of the building. And the year after that, he got booed out of the building. And so on and so forth, until they finally actually made him a heel and he got cheered because he was a heel. Yes. I don't want Ren to suffer that fate. I'm more inclined to believe that it will be your theory, that it will be, this is the start of the fans really getting behind her. And honestly, I think they're really going to get behind No Quarter Catch Crew in general. I think it's going to be a situation where you're going to get behind Ren. I think you're going to get behind, I think Charlie Dempsey is also coming off a little bit more sincere in his tutelage now, rather than just trying to take whatever shortcut he can to to keep that Heritage Cup and things like that. And same thing with Miles Bourne and Tavion Heights. I think they are phenomenal athletes, and they're going to do great stuff in this business.
Yes, and to kind of transition away, because you'd mentioned it a couple times now, so if anybody didn't catch it, Julia did end up picking up the win.
Julia picked up the win. She hit that Arrivederci knee on Zarya, correct?
On Zarya, yes.
On Zarya, and got that put her up to 3 wins, I think it was.
2.
It was 2. She's the only one that had 2.
Yeah.
And it happened real late. Like, it happened with like 15 seconds left.
Yeah, and then she escaped a cradle roll-up from Stephanie Vaquer. So I will say this. This is the second time we're having Julia and Roxanne meet for this title. If Roxanne is not dropping the title to Julia right now, I'm not saying that a Julia title run is going to be the best thing in the world. But if they don't pull the trigger on it now, I don't think they ever will.
I completely agree with that, which also makes me go down the road of, if they're not pulling the trigger on Julia after a second title shot and you getting it this way, her winning this was maybe the wrong choice.
Yeah, that, or she's main roster bound real soon.
Real soon. But again, I actually really enjoyed the women's Iron Survivor match. I enjoyed both Iron Survivor matches, but I really enjoyed the women's Iron Survivor match. Like, I like that both of them were a little different. The men started off hot, the women slowed it down a little bit, brought you back into the fold. The NXT Championship, I don't think kind of entertained either one of us the way it maybe. And again, maybe this was, you needed to be in the crowd to really love this match as much as they did. The tag team match went above and beyond. The tag team title match, went above and beyond in our mind. The underground match, it was just, it just didn't click with us. And again, maybe it clicked with other people. I'm not saying that. I don't think the winner was the wrong choice. It just didn't click with us. So, all around, Legion, that was our review of NXT's Deadline. This is the final PLE of the year for the WWE. So they'll use the rest of the year to promote their first PLE of the new year, and which I believe is also an NXT PLE, and the Royal Rumble. So, guys, it's been fun. Hound, would you like to leave the folks with anything?
Yes, as always, folks, Legion, thank you all for giving us your most precious resource, your time. We love providing some entertainment for you. I hope that some of my shenanigans bring you some joy, except for you, Takeshita. I'm coming for you.
He's coming.
And I just realized I stared at my microphone menacingly instead of the camera, because I'm an idiot.
Takeshita he actually calls his microphone Takeshita. It's fine.
Yeah, that's why I yell at it all the time. Takeshita.
All right, folks. This has been fun. Honestly, this was a really fun PLE. If you guys have not watched it, please go check it out. I don't think you'll be disappointed. I'm going to give this a solid B. Yeah. And with that said, folks, as always, remember, tuck your chin when you bump.